All right, so today I sat down with Greg Harper, pro triathlete, former D1 swimmer, and coach. A guy who basically said, yeah, I swim like this because it works, and the internet lost its damn mind. You know the type. Swims fast, doesn't wear a smartwatch, and somehow still knows what he's doing. Wild, right? We get into burnout, bad coaching, why gliding is trash, how flip turns actually matter, yes, even for triathletes who swear they're never going to do one, and why stroke rate matters more than your ego. Also, we talk about breathing, not in a woo-woo yoga way, more like, hey, maybe don't hyperventilate just because you're in a wetsuit. This episode is packed. You're going to learn something. You might get offended. Either way, it's worth the listen. Let's roll. It's interesting in that having you on the show because we don't do interviews really. We don't do interviews.
I'm honored.
Yeah, well, you came recommended by a couple of my athletes who look at your social media as I'm gonna paraphrase what they said, but as almost like a disruptor in the triathlon world, which I know they knew I was going to appreciate because I consider myself similar with that in the swimming of open water swimming and triathlon, and I only coach swimming. I don't really coach triathlon at all. It's not my bag.
Okay.
I'm a swim coach. I'm really good at being a swim coach.
Honestly, I appreciate that. I feel like everyone's like wants to coach. Like, oh, I'm a triathlon coach. It's like I've been in the sport for a year. I'm like, well, I don't know. Even me, like I've been in triathlon a long time. I did it as a kid. My dad was a pro, and I feel very confident in my swim abilities. And I'm a good tri coach for sure. But I'm not like the best tri coach on earth. But I feel like I'm way more qualified than people who are like just call themselves tri coaches. So no, I appreciate you just like not like staying in your lane, like you can always grow, but like knowing what you're good at too, right? And kind of leaning into that. Not like everyone wants to be jack of like all the trades. It's like, no, find what you're good at and help people. And that's kind of, and the disruptor too. I kind of want tri coaches too to kind of maybe come out and sub out their swims like to me or someone like you too. And I was kind of before the pod, I was kind of looking about, kind of what you're about. And yeah, it seems like we're similar in that way.
Yeah. So you started triathlon when you were like 9, I think. Is that about right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's been on and off mostly. Yeah. Like did a lot of swimming and, in my 20s, I wasn't doing too much triathlon and kind of got back into it in my late 20s and COVID.
Okay.
But yeah, I've been around endurance sports my whole life, essentially.
Yeah. And I mean, the most I ever saw my dad work out was pretty low, right? So I'm gonna imagine that your dad was a pretty important figure in not just training, but setting goals and figuring out what you wanted to do as an athlete, because so many kids always have the same thought, right? I want to go to the Olympics. Well, it's not everything. Yeah. It is important, but it's not everything. There's so much more you can do with sport as well. So I can appreciate you so much.
100%, yeah. And my parents did such a good job. Like I had 2 sisters. They both swam in college. Like we were a big swim family, and we worked hard, but we had good genetics as well, which is always helpful. And they never were like pushing us to, some parents watch every swim practice and like, oh, I'm so excited about they were just like very like hands off. Like if you guys are loving it, then keep going. And we had good coaches too that I think you kind of get what you put in. It's not so serious. And if the kids want to work hard and get fast, you can. And if you don't, then you don't really have to. And maybe that keeps people in the sport longer too. You don't want to be like so forceful as a young coach or a parent, because all the kids whose parents hovered and were way too into it were the ones who were not going to the pool anymore.
Yeah.
For fun.
Right.
Even I had friends in college, and it's like some of them don't swim anymore, and I think it's kind of sad because they loved it at some point, and then they lost that love, right?
Yeah.
So it can be tough.
Do you feel like triathlon helped you kind of keep that love for swimming? One of my mentors is a tri coach actually, and he a couple of years ago had said it to a group of his athletes that in triathlon, just finishing the race is an accomplishment in itself, versus like at a swim meet, you're expected to finish a 200 freestyle, not a huge accomplishment. So it's like this different thing. It's like, oh, wait, I don't have to like be faster every single time. I don't have to be the same time every single time. I can just finish and feel good about that, right? So do you feel like that's helped you stay in the water?
Well, yeah, and it's like I can maintain like at such a lower like not intensity, but like focus
Yes.
essentially, right? Like you said in the pool, it's like pace times X. And I was someone with in college, like with Olympians, and like, Nathan Adrian's on my team. Like he's an Olympic gold medalist in
Right.
the 100 free. It's like, you know, I lost some confidence, honestly. Like, you're a big fish in high school and you go to college and I'm like, yeah, like I was one of the kind of the slower guys on the Cal team, and I was happy to be there, and I learned a lot, and it was great. But yeah, when you go back into triathlon now, everyone's kind of like gassing me up again because I swim well, and I'm like, yeah, just so you know, get people to come up and be like, yeah, maybe you can help me. Like, I know you were a great pro swimmer and all this. I'm like, I just want to tell you, I've never said I was a pro swimmer.
Right.
Like, I was not really even close to being a pro swimmer. I mean, relatively in the grand scheme, I guess percentage wise, you're close, but it's like, yeah, I qualify for the Olympic trials, but as swimmers know, it's a long way from being in the
Right.
Olympics and qualifying
Right. I
in
mean,
the
how many
Olympic
people were in
trials.
your
So
event in Olympic trials, right? I mean, it was
yeah,
hundreds of people still. So it's like,
yeah,
still,
no, yeah, exactly.
right.
But no, you're totally right, and it's like it kind of takes the pressure off, and you can change it up to open water races, and I don't have to grind doubles in the pool twice a day
Right.
and be super focused, right?
Right.
Because obviously I'm trying to improve my bike and run more than my swim.
Right.
So,
Which makes sense.
uh,
So it's kind of actually this morning, I had my one of my clients this morning is a 10-year-old. This weekend, he did his first 1 mile open water swim at the Chesapeake Bay swim.
well, that's like right where I was last
Right,
weekend.
right, for Eagleman, right? And so
Hmm.
it was really interesting because I feel like kids are getting introduced to open water now much more. Like I didn't start swimming open water until I was actually coaching. I was out of college. And so it does feel like maybe that in the future, these kids that are coming from a swim background are going to transition into triathlon a little bit more smoothly than maybe people of my generation, where it's not going to be just dominated by cyclists. Hopefully swimmers can start representing a little bit better.
That's a good point. And yeah, it's like the swimmers. The thing about triathlon, obviously, swimming is the smallest proportion of the thing. Yeah, actually, I think I did. I was doing open water. I did triathlons as a kid, right? And I did like Treasure Island Triathlon, which is in the Bay Area, like in California. And they had like kind of a series around, and I would do some open water swimming in the races, right? I'm like, yeah, I'm a great open water swimmer. And then I went to sectionals, which in California, it's a big meet, lots of fast guys, and they have an open water race as part of the swim meet. So when we were 16, and I'm like, oh, this is
Nice.
what I do. I know about, but then it was with actual swimmers and I got crushed. Like, so, I remember Tom Shields, who I swam with in college. Like he's an incredible swimmer. He's an Olympian on the US team.
Yeah.
I think he won the thing, but I went into the race like, oh yeah, open water. I know what I'm doing, but it was different when you're swimming real swimmers. But that experience I think is big too. And then, like you said, if they like open water swimming and then, oh, maybe let's do a little swim run event,
Yep.
when they're 13. And all of a sudden when they're in college or get done with their swim career, they're like, oh, I've kind of dabbled in this. Like maybe I'll try a triathlon,
Right.
and they'll be in a better spot for it.
All right, but and going back to what you were saying about so many of the people you swam with in high school through college don't swim anymore. Hopefully it keeps people engaged to want to keep doing the thing that I would assume they fell in love with at some point in their life, right? And we see it all the time, and that people burn out. That's just the way it is. So, anyway.
Yeah, another fun sport is like swim run or like Otillo, as they call it. Like I've done a couple of those, and like swimming to something is cool. It's like, oh, I'm going to swim to that island and then I'm going to like run across it. Or like I'm going to
Yes.
swim, not just like swim back and forth, like a destination. So I like that whole idea of like open water swimming as well too. Or like, oh, I'm going to swim to that side of the lake and then I'm going to come back. I don't do much open water swimming on my own usually.
Yeah.
I mean, I get kind of scared, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I want people around.
Me too.
But yeah, no, 100%. But yeah, it's super fun when you're like, if you have a crew and you're going out there and like, you're in Hawaii or something with friends and you want to go swimming in the ocean. It's a lot of fun. And like you said, get people interested and like, yeah, less burned out over the long term, which is what it's about. And you're a coach, like that's half the battle, right? You
Yeah.
want people to enjoy what they're doing when they show up to the pool or training or whatnot. And who's ever enjoying it's going to improve over the long term the most.
Yeah. So I started my coaching career in the Bahamas, and so every February, we take a group of our athletes on a training trip. These are adults to the Bahamas just to swim open water. Water temps around like 75, 78. It's going to be about what they compete in basically. And so it's just so much fun for them because here in Northern Virginia in the DC area, there are limited opportunities to swim open water and swim open water with a group and swim open water with water that's clean and that you could also see in. So it's like one of the best times during the year. It's just like to go down with 6 to 8 people and just have this great time swimming open water. And then we all share these like the sightings of sea turtles. And like it's sort of the rule that if you see sea life, you can stop, point it out, and call everyone over to come find it. Right? Because that's what's important. Not getting yards in. Who cares?
No.
You get the yards in.
Yeah, that's super fun. And, I know Brenton and Effortless Swimming, he does like a lot of like cool, like location camps like that too. So
yeah,
it seems like kind of a kind of fun way to do it as a coach too. And yeah, you learn some open water skills and things too. And some people are just so scared of it. It seems like, I feel like,
which is reasonable.
I feel like a sport's like, no, it's totally reasonable. Like I actually had a guy hit me up like a week ago and he was like, I thought he kind of wanted to be coaching. And then he was kind of like, yeah. So like, he basically was talking to me about his like anxiety in open water and like, you can give him tips, but like, also, I mean, you may need to talk to a therapist a little bit, like a sports psych, because it's like, that's their specialty. Like, yes, I can probably help alleviate it. And I think just being confident in the pool and like a good swim program and, some experience can help. But I'm like, seems like a lot of people might just talking through it with someone, a professional might actually help their swimming more than they would appreciate.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my other clients this morning who also did Eagle Man, and he was very proud of his race, and rightfully so. He like PR'd in the swim and had a really great run as well.
That's good on you. Like that was a slow day, I thought.
That's why he was so happy. He showed me a picture of himself on shore right before the race started and he had a huge smile on his face, which everyone behind him looked like, what the fuck am I going to do? It was
like
hysterical.
Some jellyfish out there. Yeah, it was tough conditions for sure. It was like my slowest 70.3 swim I've ever done actually. So yeah, good on him. That's a good race.
Yeah. So what is your like typical training look like per week while you're in season versus off season? How often are you swimming? How often are you running? Those standard things.
Yeah. I mean, pretty much like 5 of each, I would say.
Okay.
5 swims, 5 runs, 5 bikes, and anywhere from basically like 20 to upper, to 30 hours, depending. Maybe You're doing base building or, and it comes in waves. So sometimes you're like, oh, I got to do more. And then sometimes you're like, no, I can do less and do a little bit more quality. And that's kind of the beauty of the thing. It's like, it comes in waves. So yeah, I would say in that ballpark. And I typically swimming, I've actually swam a little bit less this year, but I've just been a bit busier. Like I'm kind of trying to like build my coaching business and stuff. And, we're having a kid at the end of the year and I'm like, all right, racing's like it just sustains me. Like, all right, I need to like make some more money and stuff like that. So I can always let the swim go a little bit.
Right.
But then a week or two before a race, I'll just do like a big swim week, 20K plus. And that kind of just like puts me back into kind of where I need to be. Like Eagle Man, I think I swam like almost like 8K one week and then 9K. And then the week before I swam like 21K and then it was race week. So I just was like, and I can do that because like I've obviously swam a lot. Like I can just up the volume crazy and I'll be fine because I've done, 40, 50K weeks plenty of times. But yeah, I like to be in that 15 to 20K range though, like in the swimming. I think that's like, it's like a good volume to like finish the back half of a race well.
Nice, yeah.
People think maybe like, oh, I could swim less. It's like, well, I mean, pro swimmers, I mean, it's not the same, but, they still swim 60K a week for a 2-minute event. And
right.
Like, yes, it's not the same, but you still need to swim a fair amount, I feel like, to be like at your top fitness, I guess.
Right.
For that,
that
distance.
One of the things that always comes up in conversation is, I don't know how to describe it other than we've all experienced this as swimmers. You take a single day off and you come back and it's like, I don't know how to swim for the next 2 days. Right. But part of that's because we were swimming so much. For someone who swims only twice a week, when they take that day off and they feel that same thing, it's like this weird experience of like, I don't understand why I lose it. Like, well, you don't spend any time in the water, so why wouldn't you lose it? So it's that same thought, like, to be a pro swimmer, they're spending, what do you think? 20 to 30 hours a week in the pool, right?
Yeah, 20 probably.
And then you're
frequency is so important, you know?
Yes, I agree. I think frequency is more important than volume, right? I think it's more important that
Yeah.
someone gets to the pool more often than can, get 2 hours in at a pop. Who cares? I mean, it's not going to work for you
Yeah.
probably if not at that level.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. If you're not at that level, like most people can't handle a 2-hour swim,
Right.
essentially. Like if you were watching them, you're like, yeah, you're not swimming good anymore. Like now you just, sometimes I say this thing about, oh, every stroke you take to like reinforces a bad habit is like a perfect stroke you have to take to like unlearn it. And I don't think it translates perfectly, but like there is something
Yeah,
to be said about
I agree.
that, you know. But like you said, the hard thing is like going to the pool, I guess, takes time sometimes with the athletes too. So it's like a lot of them can't get to the pool 6 days a week. It's like just swim 2,500-yard swims a week, but they're like for 15K, like, well, no, I can only go 3 times. So should I swim 5K each time? I'm like, well, maybe not. Depends what kind of level you're at. Maybe if we just do 25s and 50s and it takes you 3 hours and your stroke doesn't fall apart.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always an interesting balance.
So before we jumped on, I was looking at some of your video on Instagram of you swimming, and I have been, maybe you saw this, I don't know. I have been really trying to push onto the internet the concept that there is more than one way to swim freestyle. And what you see on the internet most often isn't usually, in my opinion, the best way to swim freestyle. And so when I was watching you, I would say that you're swimming freestyle in an approach that I coach as well, which to me, what I'm seeing, it does not look like you're doing a front quadrant freestyle with a glide. It looks like your arms are pretty much opposite of each other. And I would say they're a low recovery to the surface. They're not necessarily like high elbow. I've got to like, elbow somebody above me to get my arm out of the water. And so some of the defining factors that I try to preach to people when it comes to freestyle, especially for open water, your arms should be opposite of each other. We're more stable at that point, and we're also generating propulsion more consistently at that point. Our velocity isn't dropping, and our momentum's not dropping. But every time I pause and I glide, I'm losing velocity, which I'm losing momentum, which changes everything, right? So was this by design? Did you intentionally change the way that you're swimming in open water versus maybe what you were taught at some point? Because you're younger than I am, pretty sure. I actually don't know how old you are anymore.
I'm 33.
Okay, so I'll be 43 in about a month, right? So I'm 10 years
All
older
right.
than you. I don't know if I was actually ever taught like a front quadrant freestyle as much as towards like the early 2000s, like 2005. It was really pushed heavily. And it's really hard now to see it and tell people that, first, that's not a thing. And second, it's very passe. Like it doesn't actually, it might be easy for you to do, but it isn't achieving efficiency. It's achieving ease, which is not equal to efficiency. So did you change your stroke? How did you get to where you're at with your stroke?
Yeah, that's a good thought. And when I swim easy, I swim like that more, like in the pool warming up, right? You kind of have that glide and that length a bit. And I still think that like practice, like having both is good. But like you said, I almost think I'm a better swimmer like as an adult than some of my counterparts who might have been faster in college because of the way I swim. Like, it's those long strokes that are really strength dependent and like that front quadrant, like they blast the legs, they're crazy long and they have glide, but if they're not hitting the gym on like a really workout with the boys 3 days a week, like you can't sustain that stroke,
No.
So like they'll end up being like slower now because they go back to their old stroke and they're nowhere near enough strong to like sustain it. So like you said, I've always had a good stroke rate, I think. And I'll glide out in front, like you say, like front quadrant and stuff. And I still think people should like try to find an ease and efficiency that way. But when it gets to like racing or like open water, it's like, there's like no one who really does that, especially in those rougher conditions. So it just kind of adapted. My stroke, I've always had a higher stroke rate. I've been swimming against guys who've been bigger than me my whole life. And the only way you can keep up with them is if you take more strokes, right? But then I found efficiency for myself with that stroke. And like no one swims the same, like you say. And that's kind of the beauty of it. You look at like a Janet Evans, who I loved watching swim. And like she's got that windmill stroke, like just crazy turnover. And if she I remember hearing our coach interviewed once, and he's like, yeah, we tried to change it one time and it just didn't work. So we just went back to this unconventional freestyle. And that's like, yeah, you have to, really try to kind of find what stroke works for you. But yeah, like you said, I think the stroke rate and yeah, I guess your arms are a little bit more opposite. I still feel like, I'm not quite like 3/4 catch up, but like
Yeah.
there's length, like you can still have length without gliding, right?
Yes.
Too.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what people maybe misunderstand a bit. It's like, oh, I need to have long strokes, and they think that it means they have to pause. It's like,
Right.
no, I swim tall, but my arms are just all continuously
Right.
moving. You know what I mean?
To me, I think of it as like the bike, to be honest, right?
Mm.
If I'm not allowed to glide on the bike, why would I be able to glide in something more viscous than air? It doesn't make any sense.
That's a really good point,
Right?
actually.
And it's and sort of the physics are there on the bike as well, right? If I want to increase my power, I increase my cadence first. At least that's what most people would do, right? So that's sort of the approach that I like to take with my athletes as well, is kind of move away from trying to generate more and more power. How do we have finesse? How do we stay in continual motion? And especially for open water, that's something we need, where we don't feel, it's the best way I can describe it is we don't feel anchored, where like I'm not dropping my body to a position that I feel stable. My momentum makes me feel stable, but if my body's making me feel stable, I'm preventing myself from moving in a way. So that's kind of the mindset that I keep.
Well, it's interesting. Like I never really talked about this with anyone because I feel like no one quite understands it. But with that long front quadrants freestyle, it's like your opposite foot like kicks and then you get into your catch, right? But it's like that rotation. But when I get into my stroke, like I'm actually like kicking when my arm is under my body, like just way late. So it's like it's almost just this like momentum thing, but my arms are continually moving. It's like that 2-beat kick, but it's not like the 2-beat long stroke. It's like this delayed kick. So my turnover just keeps going and there's no pause out in the front. So that's how my sister swam.
Nice.
And she got 5th at NC2As in the 500-yard freestyle,
Nice.
like back in the day, So she's like super good. And that's how she swam. And I have like a hybrid stroke of that a little bit. And especially when you go to the open water, it's like, it's this popping of the hips when your arm's coming underneath you, not like setting it up. And then, it's a little bit the kick timing, and you can change back and forth. And yeah, I think that's what makes me a good open water swimmer too. I can be adaptable out there too, which is
Great
good.
point, by the way.
You develop in the pool, right?
Yeah.
I mean, essentially, like you got to do all the little things.
Do you feel like you
and-
change your stroke from the pool to the open water? Or do you feel like you try to maintain the same movement pattern, knowing that there's variety in situations that you're going to change for?
Yeah, I would say like when I'm swimming easy in the pool, it's like that longer stroke. But
Yeah.
like when, if I'm doing 200 reps or 100 reps in the pool, I think my stroke's pretty similar to the open water.
Okay.
It's the same reason I got good in the first place, quick stroke rate. I'm not gliding too much out front. Like I'm taking a lot of strokes. My stroke rate's good. I can use the kick to propel myself when I need to and try not to do it too much, but it's kind of ingrained in me when I swim fast. You like kind of kick hard too.
I watched whatever you posted about your swim during Eagleman, and you have a clear asymmetry in your stroke, which is normal, and we all have asymmetry, so why wouldn't it come up in our athletic pursuits? And it looked like you had really great timing of kicking either during your breath or during your sighting as well, where like there was like these moments where like your kick was supporting these actions, not just like making these movements. So I could see it from that video, but
yeah, sometimes I'll kick and like it's a really big splash, and it's probably like when you're lifting your head almost too. Like you need that little extra
leverage,
right? To like keep. Yep, exactly. So yeah, it's funny because like you don't, you analyze your own stroke, right? I analyze a lot of people's strokes, but sometimes not my own. And then when you break it down, it's like, oh, I'm actually doing this pretty well. But I've had good coaches my whole life, and I've always been a good student, so like I can do a lot of great things subconsciously and. I worked hard to do that, but I'm also lucky and fortunate that I can, pretty much just keep my stroke together for the most part. And I know what it's like to go to survival mode. That's like efficient survival mode, right? Where it's like, I can do it and I can get through it. I know how to move well, even though like I'm actually not in a great spot or I'm not feeling good.
Yeah.
Which is, it's hard to do like running and stuff like that. But in swimming, I just, you did it so many times. It's like ingrained in your subconscious, essentially.
Yeah, I think that's actually really hard for adults coming into triathlon, working on their swimming, they don't know how to swim slow. Like this past year, I swear, 2025, I have been celebrating slow swimming more often than PRs, because it's not necessarily about those PRs. It's about control, right? Like, oh, I am tired. How do I slow down and not feel like I'm sinking? Or how do I slow down and not feel like I'm going to drown, right? So it's amazing how many males have told me that they got in triathlon to force themselves to get better at swimming, but then they never actually learn to make the improvements in swimming that they need to make. It's so bizarre.
Just it's all force.
Yes.
Like it's all that muscling.
Yep.
You know.
Yep. Fight through it.
Yeah. I get it 100%. And yeah, it's that old like saying you need to go slow to go fast. And
Yep.
you know, especially when you're like if you're trying to work on your head position, you're like doing some, drills to work on your head position. It's like you have to go slow and perfect it before you can go faster
Right.
and do it right too. So you really gotta, if you can't swim easy and slow, like you're not gonna have easy speed, as they say,
Yeah.
for a swimmer.
Yeah, I mean that's a great. I think I'm gonna start telling that to everyone who's like, I want to find easy speed. All right, well, find out how to swim slow first. How slow can you swim?
Yeah.
A couple.
The control that good swimmers have is crazy.
Yes.
Like, it's like I could do 2100s in a row and descend every single one of them, right? And swim it legally, right? Or without just like, swimming bad technique. I could swim
Right.
a 130, 100, which is, double how fast I could swim 100. Just so slow, but it would be good technique. I mean, you just
Right.
don't have the same pressure,
Right.
right? But it's like you could still do it. And then, yeah, triathletes have like 2 gears. It's like easy and hard.
Yep, on off.
I'm always just like, I'll do a fair amount of descending stuff with athletes and stuff, and you don't always know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like they don't always report back, but it's like if you don't have that control in the change of gears, it's like, yeah, it's huge. Or if you ever watch someone like you swim a 25, you're like, okay, it's half easy, half fast, and you're like watching, and then they get to halfway, it doesn't look like they change. It's like a good swimmer, you'd see it, right?
Yes.
It's massive, but like a triathlete, they're like, oh no, I went harder. Like, well, I didn't see it, so you kind of didn't.
Right.
You should be able to see that with your eyes.
Yes, I agree. Actually, where are you at with distance per stroke versus cadence?
I mean, I think for open water swimming, like cadence is big and like stroke rate.
Yeah.
I think like I still prescribe some distance per stroke to people because they never even, some people just spin their wheels
Right.
too. And it's obviously a mix. Like that's what swimming is. It's how much you pull per stroke, distance per stroke, and your stroke rate, which equals speed. So you got to maximize, what's best for your body type essentially. So I think like doing the extremes is how you find where to go, right? Like, in college, we did a lot of like 8 strokes per lap swimming, and it was hard for me. I was one of the smaller guys on the team. And it's like, you can get it done. And then I'll go to my normal 14 or 15.
Yep.
And maybe I didn't need to go quite that extreme, but it's like, I think you just still will learn how to be efficient while doing that long stuff. But when it comes to racing, yeah, there's no way I'm like trying to do long strokes. Like I'm trying to have good turnover, especially in the wavier open water conditions. I'm not 6'4" with this insanely long torso. I'm not like, we always use Sung Yang example because he's like and like we don't like him because he's a cheater.
That's right.
But like he has this insane long stroke. Like you just can't emulate that. Like you're not them.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, I would say that I think, having length of your stroke, like we said before, it doesn't mean you're gliding. So having length is good. And I'm kind of a fan of doing some straight arm stuff with people too, because they can be like so tight and like it can maybe help them to like open up a bit and find that length without maybe even like, you don't even have to glide while you do. You look like Janet Evans or something. So yeah. I think stroke rate's super important. I think especially in triathlon. You see like Lucy Charles Barkley, like she's pretty much the best triathlete swimmer, right? Like even male or female, and wicked high stroke rate. You look at these WTTS guys, the draft legal, most of them have pretty great turnovers, and you like look down the field and the turnovers get slower. It's just like, okay, the fastest people have the fastest turnovers. And then you go to the back and it's like, those guys look like they're swimming slower because their arms aren't moving as fast. And, in the end, triathletes aren't that good at swimming. Like you just need to be like efficient. Like Alistair Brownlee, like his swim stroke kind of sucks, but somehow he was like one of the most consistently good open water swimmers because he had a crazy good stroke rate. He could sight to both sides. Like it was so seamless, and he had a bunch of these skills that he developed. So you don't look like these perfect Olympic swimmers in the pool
Yeah.
who are like really get that length on their stroke.
Yeah. And I think you've said a lot of things that people really need to cue in on. First, you're not these people that you're watching. So stop trying to be them. Stop going, well, they move like this. You don't even know how they move. You are seeing them from above the surface. You don't know what they're doing under the water. So you don't need to mimic anybody. You need to understand the principles and then apply those principles. But I think you're absolutely right. And I never really thought about it, about finding the sort of like extremes, one side of each spectrum of what does it mean to have a really low stroke count? And what does it mean to have a really high stroke count? I always tell people, if your arm length is longer than a yard, you better be under 25 strokes per length. Other than that, it's like,
That's a good thought.
other than that, okay, we want it lower, but we don't want to get to the point where we're so focused on being low stroke rate that we're sort of kicking on our side and pausing to get down to the other side of the pool. It doesn't really teach us anything. So I'm gonna implement some of these concepts of like, how low can you go? How high can you go? Let's find something in the middle.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, exactly. And it's like a lot of I feel like swim coaching is too, is like providing swimmers with like these ranges of things to do, and then they have to figure it out.
Yep.
Like I feel for the water. It's like this elusive concept that no coach really has like an idea how to explain it. You just hopefully can like put your swimmers through weird stuff or swimming and good programming that they can like find it for themselves. Cause it's like, that's what it is. Like, I can't tell you why when I pull, I just feel insanely connected throughout my whole body. It's like, you got to try to find it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my wife and I, we run Try Swim Coach. We also have a swim school, SwimBox, and we try really hard to get people involved in Pilates actually, because it helps them find that inner tension that swimming requires. And it really, it's kind of weird in that doing a Pilates workout brings me the closest sensation of what you'd feel like after a swim workout, where like everything's a little fatigued and you kind of have that like that second wind where you're like, oh, I feel like garbage. And then all of a sudden you're like, I feel great. Where like running, I don't necessarily get the same feel after even a long run compared to a swim workout. So Pilates does that for me. It's kind of weird. So
yeah, no, I like that too. And you have to be like tight through the core, of course, too.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes though it's, I'm working with a few pro triathletes these days, and the strength isn't the limiter too. It's like they are strong. So it's almost just like turning it on in the right way. And it's like you say engage your core, but does anyone really engage their core when you say engage your core? So I think that's a really big challenge, something that I'm still working through with everyone. And it's like, yeah, it can be hard to do. Like I had a buddy and he's a pro triathlete and he's like rock solid. Like he does lots of Pilates and stuff, but he's like, I feel like runners come to the pool and get wiggly, and then the swimmers go to land and they do the same thing while they're running, even though like they're both strong in their cores, but somehow they switch and then they just like don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can be a tough one. Something I found some success with is like hands at your side, while like rotating, like kind of exaggerating the rotation.
Yep.
So they kind of have to like force themselves to like rotate, like with their shoulders and their hips a bit and like kind of utilize their core. People are like, I felt like I was drowning. And I'm like, yeah, it's never easy, but maybe you can find something from that. But yeah, it's always like a ongoing thing that is, it's difficult to explain essentially. But like I said, it's that lower back arch too. And I think I was reading something you said about that. Pilates, you kind of have to like roll your pelvis, right? And that's kind of what swimming is like. You see the good swimmers, all their backs on the surface. It's pretty flat because they're kind of like, they just roll that pelvis. They have that straight spine without really thinking. But most people get that like, kind of that disconnect. You can like see if you're looking on the side view, you can like see that arch.
Bananas.
You can see through it. You
We
can
call
see
those
the water.
bananas.
On the other side.
Swimming like a
That's
banana.
exactly what Yep, 100%. Loosey goosey out there.
Right.
So you know what that's
Yeah,
about.
I'll have to send you some stuff. Some of the things that I like to do is we use breath and air to help cause that tension. It's literally abdominal pressure. So, really basic concept of bracing breath, like as if you were lifting heavy. If you can teach someone how to do that and create a canister through their diaphragm and their pelvic floor, they can start to understand how to use their core correctly. But there's a couple other drills I'll send over to you so that you can kind of play around with them.
That'd be great.
Yeah, they're really
I've been doing a little more floating with some of my people too. Like,
nice.
just like ball floating and stuff
Yep.
and things like that. Do you know who Andrew Schaaf is? He's
That name sounds
he coaches
very
UVA,
okay.
but he's got a ton of good resources online, and like he's got a couple of different YouTube channels about swimming. I mean, I actually have his book right here. It's called the Constraints-Led Approach to Swim Coaching.
Okay.
This is more like high level, like swimming,
Yeah.
right? Like more like, I mean, he like high performance, but there's things you can take into like triathletes, and some of these people are just gasping for air. And well, I kind of noticed you have like a breathing course and stuff
Yeah.
too. Yeah, I'd be curious to kind of see what those are like, because I feel like that's so big. Like you can't get fit and like get better if like you're not, if your breathing's out of control. Like
Yeah.
that's like the most basic part of the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, your breath basically determines your posture, and your posture basically determines your breath. So that all determines how you hold yourself. How can you hold yourself? Where do you hold yourself? And these things are actually really important questions to ask yourself when you're not working out and when you are, because it changes. So it is an important concept, and it's something that I've gone down the breathing rabbit hole for a long time, and it's really served me really well as a coach for my clients, actually.
100%.
So I'll send you some stuff. One of the things that my clients have brought up to me about you that I really want to know about or understand about, because I don't quite know how we could do this, but how do you coach someone if they're not tracking data with a watch, right? You're kind of anti-watch.
Oh yeah, I'm super anti-watch.
I am
mean,
too,
like,
to a point.
I mean, I just don't think like there's swim data that's like that useful. I mean,
Yeah.
you're using a clock. Like the clock is there. Like you're using intervals in the clock, and like if you're doing 10 100s and you're descending, like when you finish a workout, write some times down and things like that. But like that's how I want people to approach it. But like your heart rate data and stuff like that, like I just don't think it's like that important. And the reality is, not many people grew up to become Olympic swimmers like tracking all this data.
Right.
I know maybe now more that they are, but that's not like the thing that's going to make or break. And I think people get like hyper focused on it. So like, I just don't think it's that accurate too. Like you go swimming in the pool. It's like, oh yeah, my watch was 50 yards off. I'm like, okay,
That's
now
huge.
we're going to like, yeah, I'm just like, what? That's completely wrong. Like your heart rate data on your wrist isn't going to be accurate. Like
Nope.
maybe you have a new armband one or something too. But yeah, I just don't think it's that important. Like, and oh, my swim TSS or something. It's like, dude, just you swam 3K, you were in there for an hour, log it as that, write down a few times, write down how you felt, and then you just said general themes over time. Like I don't care if you're swimming super fast on Tuesday and slow on Wednesday. I care if you're like in 3 weeks you're like feeling better, in 3 weeks you're feeling better then, not like, oh, my watch said I was overreaching or whatever it might be.
Right.
And I really think it's like a mindset thing. Like I think you just are a happier person. And we just need to disconnect, I think, in general, right? And I think just
I
the
agree.
pool is like that last place where you can like, yeah, and the clock is there, like, have the pool, listen to the sounds, like don't use form goggles and listen to music. I mean, you can do all those things a little bit, but more often than not, I would rather see you.
Yeah, I
see you
mean,
not
there
do
was
those things.
there was research done years ago. I don't remember what the research paper was called or entitled, but basically, researchers have determined that swimmers are better at perceiving their effort than wearable devices are. Because a wearable device takes about 30 seconds for it to even register your current heart rate. And I'm done swimming at that point. So it's like, what is it even measuring? So it makes sense.
Yep, 100%. Yeah. Well, dude, like one of my most like viral reels, I was like, it's funny. I just made up the swim study. I was like, oh, there's a swim study of 8,000 people. And it said people who basically wore watches were like less happy swimming, just because I was just like, whatever. And then like, now it's got like 1 million views and people were like, what's the bias on this study? I was like, dude, who would do that? It's obviously made up. I was just like tongue in cheek. Like, and my thing was, if you wear a watch, you're like in the wrong mindset. And like most of the things I say on Instagram and stuff, I like believe in, there's always exceptions to everything. Like, I'm not a coach who thinks it's like this way or the highway. There's always, and like, that's how good coaches should be. Right. And you seem like you're the same way, but I do believe in mostly what I'm saying. Like, never take some advice from someone who wears a watch in the pool. I'm like, maybe a couple, but like not all of them, or like that type of stuff. It's just kind of funny because it's like, it's just swimming. Like, it's not that serious. Like, well, let's all try to get better. Like, let's all have a laugh. Let's all try to help each other out. And it's like, I'm not debating politics on the internet and taking hard stances. I'm
Right.
like, it's just swimming, guys. We're good. Let's have a laugh and let's get better.
Yeah, I a couple of podcasts ago had an athlete on who did Lake Tahoe, the 12-mile swim. I had posted his story on the open water subreddit, and it was like, how dare I even breach the subject that you can swim in a different way, that his arms were opposite of each other, and he was faster when he did that. And people are like losing, like, how can this be efficient? How does this even work? It's like, it's not magic,
interesting.
guys. Like, it's pretty basic physics, actually. But because
There's this like guy.
Wait,
No, go.
I'd
No,
say
go
it's
ahead.
basically they're so hardwired into believing that the thing that
Mm.
they've done is the only way or is the right way. So anything outside of that shouldn't be predicated, shouldn't be talked about, or shouldn't even be mentioned. It is very like black and white out there on the internet. High elbows
Yeah.
are a
Well, and
must during a recovery. What?
Yeah. Well, the high elbow recovery is an interesting one because I feel like high elbow is important, but it's just like your hand can be wherever. Like you can't.
That's
you can't,
right.
like you can't drag your elbows on the surface like Lionel does, who drags his elbow. Like that's not gonna work. But like it's got to be decently like kind of high. But yeah, your hand can be wherever. No, there's this guy on the internet. He's all like, he was like Adam like Ocean Walker or something, and I've seen him on the internet. And like I went to his page and I was like, what is this? Like, I don't know. I just like wasn't agreeing with some of the shit that he was saying. And then it just was, yeah, it's that same like really long type
Catch-up
of
drill.
stroke. He's
He
like,
basically swims catch-up drill.
I'm like, that doesn't seem efficient at all. Like most people are not going to be like strong enough swimmers to do that, especially when like rougher conditions. Like I just feel like it would be a terrible stroke. Like I want to see him swim from Alcatraz in wavy conditions with his perfect Ocean Walker technique. Right. I just was like, you have to be more adaptable, I think. And he's like, this is the way. It's like for you and probably for some others, but not for everyone. Right. And that's kind of got to recognize your own biases, I think.
Just because we're talking about him, I've reached out to him several times to see if he would come talk to me, see if he would even respond to me. Nothing. And, to his credit, he has done a lot actually for the sport of open water swimming. He has brought it to people's algorithms and people are getting interested in it because of him. So I appreciate that about him, but I agree 100% with you. I watch those videos and I read his comments and I think this is not a good idea to teach people this. And people respond to his videos with like fire emojis and clapping hands. They don't ever ask him questions, actually. And it's like, why are we not asking?
Well, and that's kind of the internet, right? It's like, but and it's tough too, because I kind of like navigate it like sort of as my job now. I mean, it's like a pro triathlete. You kind of have to have an Instagram following and stuff too. And, I have Blue 70 as a sponsor this year. And like, it was almost more based on like my internet presence. Mm-hmm. Like, we like your educational content rather than like results. So it's like, I was like, oh, okay. So, I mean, that's cool and all, but, some people you kind of got to lean into your brand too. So, I get it. Someone's like, he's trying to sell swim camps and post his viral reels and like make money. It's like, okay, hopefully if you met him in person and stuff, he would, be okay with saying, not, this isn't the 100% of the way all the time.
Yeah.
But I mean, the internet can be like so polarizing because it's almost like that stuff even sells more too, right? Yeah. Like to take hard stances or whatever it is. And even though, some people think I'm like, some of my friends and even people I said like, oh, the Greg, the grumpy triathlete, like the angry swimmer triathlete. And it's like, that's actually like not who I am in the least. And like, I like to make jokes about it, but I'm like, it's just funny who you can like become on the internet a little bit as well.
I feel very
not
similar.
that I have some massive following or anything, but it's funny.
I feel very similar, by the way. I always feel like I'm the old man being like, why are we talking about high elbows all the time? And why are we watching someone do the same movements over and over again, right? And it's like, that's not me. I've been doing this a very long time, and the people who know me, they know me. And, I have athletes that I've been coaching for like 13 years. And if I was such a hard-nosed asshole, they would not be with me for that long still, right? So.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Where are you at with like someone having to do flip turns or open turns? I get this a lot.
I'm pretty like, I'm definitely, I think doing flip turns is like important.
Yeah.
Like even if you're in open water somewhere.
I agree.
And that's the thing about it is like, if you can't do it and like hold your breath and stuff, it's like, you're going to go to the open water and succeed. Like I posted this thread once and I was like, if you can't do a flip turn, you'll never be an good open water swimmer. And people were just like, what? Like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever said. I'm like, the idea of it makes sense, right? But I phrase it in a way that seemed ludicrous, right? But it's like, I mean, you probably feel the same way. It's just like general body where, like, can you push off the wall and like be in a tight streamline and turn over and like come up to the surface? Just, it's another skill. And open water is like a collection of skills, I feel like, that you learn in the pool. And you might not, you might get dumped under the water. Like, you might get turned around by a wave. And you're like, well, good thing I do flip turns. Like, I don't know.
True.
Things come into play. You just never know. And yeah, I definitely think that it's important because, if it's a breathing issue, then obviously you need to get better at breathing and doing flip turns and stuff too, or else you'll never be like that comfortable, right? It's like awareness, comfortability, even confidence.
Yeah.
Like if you see a wall and you get scared about doing a flip turn, you got to fix that. Like when you see a wave coming at you in the ocean, you're going to be like, oh, I'm comfortable with this. Like, no, you gotta check all those boxes.
That's a great point. I always think of it as like flip turns are just another way to stress your body out, right? And that's all working out is just another way to stress your body out. So if my job is to stress my body out as much as I possibly can within this workout, well, then I probably need to learn how to do flip turns, and that breath control is going to serve me later on for sure. So I get it. What about?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Well, let me ask you one thing, because people talk about like breathing and like holding your breath and all that. And it's like, I know people say like, oh, if you hold your breath, like it kind of creates like tension and stuff, which, might promote sinking, which I get. But it's like, in the end, holding your breath and not being tense is like, that's a really great skill to have.
100%.
Right? It's like, I mean, if you can't hold your breath through the turn, like you're not going to be able to swim that efficiently. And like, I'll do a fair amount of breath control work, like, 25s, no breath or something. And like, I can't do it. I'm like, you got to somehow find relaxation through it. It's like a measure of efficiency almost. Right?
I would agree.
Like, I've taught plenty of 8-year-olds to do no breathers. And like, what, you're like this amazing triathlete and, you can't do a no breather. It's like, well, you can easily hold your breath for over a minute if you were just sitting there, but you can't do it that just means you're so tense. So it's like, you almost need to find, when people talk about breathing out too, when exhaling when you swim, and I get that that's like might feel good, but I feel like holding your breath and being relaxed is like a great skill, because the more air you have in your lungs, the better, right?
Yeah, I always tell people that they should be having somewhere around 40 to 60% of their perceived lung capacity remaining in their lungs while they swim. We're not blowing all of our air out, and you can blow all your air out as much as you can in your lungs. You can't blow it all out; you would die. Your lungs would collapse. But you can perceive that you blew all your air out, be perfectly relaxed, and you will not float. So we have to have air in our lungs to help our buoyancy. You can't blow it all out. And I think I do, every once in a while, I'll do a clinic sort of wrapped around breathing control while we're swimming. And one of the things that we do is see if we can do a 25, only allowing an exhale. You can't take more air in. But if you felt like the pressure is building and you need to kind of relieve the pressure, you can let the pressure out. And it's amazing to me how many people think they can't do it and that it's all psychological, right? They have the negative voice in their head saying, well, you're going to pass out now. But I remember being like 15 and having to do underwaters, no breath for 75s. Not even on the turn did we get a breath, right? And this was the advice from my coach. If your vision starts to tunnel, then you can come up and take a breath.
Classic.
Like, oh,
old school.
Hey, I'll be fine then. Right? And so it's like, it's just getting over those fears usually. But it is a measure of efficiency. It is literally VO2 max, right? It is literally measuring how well your body uses that oxygen. And you should be, as an adult, you should easily be able to do a 25 at a low rate of effort without a breath. A couple of years ago, I did a clinic in Anaheim about breathing, and there was a lady who had never been able to do a 25 no breath. We talked about some breathing concepts, and then all of a sudden, she did her first 25 no breath. And it was just how she was taking the air in and where she was holding it. She was taking a panicked breath where she was holding it very high up in her chest versus using her diaphragm, taking a full breath, and then having actual full lung capacity to make the whole 25. So I think it's actually really important. Yeah. And I think it's a good idea for people to practice it with supervision.
Yeah. No, you're so right about like the height of the breath. It's like, when you feel the tension from a breath, it's usually like it's up, right?
Yep.
So it's like you can like find settling. And when you feel your air's fully, yes, you're gonna feel like tight up there. But yeah, something I wanted to do with people, but it's like kind of hard to just like say to do. If they can't breathe, you kind of blow out air until you like, blow out a lot of your air until you sink to the bottom, and then just try to be there calm for like 15, 20 seconds. Like you basically are like, oh, I'm out of air, but then you like just stay down there and stay calm because there's plenty of air in your lungs, right? It's kind of like that CO2 tolerance and the onset that like makes you think you need more air, but your lungs aren't gonna like actually, like you said, they'll collapse if they run out of air, and you have to be under there for so long.
Yeah.
And I've seen, Brenton from Effortless Living, he puts out good stuff and like, good concepts where he had some breathing guy come and he basically had to like blow out, just out of the pool, you had to blow out all of your air and then walk and then see how far you could walk. And like, people are making it like 50 meters essentially with no air in their lungs.
Right.
So it's like, it's just to illustrate that point. It's like, you can go a lot longer than you think. We don't need to deprive ourselves all the time, especially in racing, but it's like, you're okay. And that's in the open water, like you said, just like keeping calm, how you think about your breathing and like a calmness of your diaphragm breathing rather than like a tightness of your chest. Like those things can go so far in terms of how fast you go. It's not even a fitness thing.
Yeah.
Just like a mindset and physiologically breathing thing.
Yeah. And actually, I'm going to have Brenton on in a week or two from now.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
I'll tune in for sure.
Yeah. It's kind of weird. I took over TriSwim Coach from the previous owner of TriSwim Coach because we had a relationship online like this. And so, Brenton has always been a kind of like a friend of the podcast. And so I reached out to him. We've been having conversations online and over email and stuff like that. And so I'm really excited to have him on. But that method that you were just referring to actually comes from a Russian scientist named Pateko. So it's kind of weird when you say these things. I'm like, what that is.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds like you've really thought about breath a lot. And now I'm kind of like, yeah, I should probably just lean into that a bit more too, because it's such a massive part of the whole thing.
Yeah. I think of it as a pillar of fitness, right? It's listed as a pillar of fitness, but it should be, right? If you can't breathe well, you're not going to be fit. The end, right? Whether it's on land or in the water, it doesn't matter. If you're not breathing well as a human, things go bad for you. So back in like 2017, I think, 2018, I got certified in a modality called PRI. And it is about how breathing affects posture and posture affects your breathing and how that all affects our mobility. And you had said earlier that, it doesn't matter how strong you are, really. You've got to be able to access that strength. Well, that's mobility. How do I get into the positions? And so most swimmers are better with mobility, and that's why we see so many hypermobile swimmers, right? It's because
the triathletes are opposite too.
Yes, they are.
Like, and runners too. Like, yeah, I'm curious. I mean, you don't work with triathletes too, you work with triathletes, but you don't coach triathlon.
Yeah.
You get runners coming into swimming and they have such stiff ankles, and it can be a challenge. It's like, sometimes you say kick more, but I found some success like with some vertical kicking maybe, like where they can just feel like the looseness of it. But in the end, it's like their ankles are so tight, it's almost it's hard to unwind without.
Yeah.
And then if their tendons become too loose, then maybe they have like ankle issues when they're running. It's like this double-edged sword.
Yes.
It sometimes can be tough to navigate as a coach.
Yeah, I would say from my experience, if someone can't get their ankle to extend a pointed toe, then they're not going to be able to kick effectively. We see people with like a bicycle kick motion, but if their ankles are extended, they're still moving forward. But if you're not extending your ankles and your ankles are flexed and your feet are in the shape of like a garden hoe, they literally move you backwards.
Yeah.
So it's like,
well, if you ever tried to swim, like, I've done it before where like you can like kick and go backwards with flex. Like that's how you would do it. Like if you're on, like, even when you're messing around sometimes, like if I'm on my back and I want to kick, but I want my feet to go first, like if you kick with flexed ankles, you kind of just start moving literally backwards.
Yep.
So that's a really good thought.
Yeah.
That's a really good point.
Yeah. My wife and I have tried these things ourselves to see if what if we moved this way, what would happen? And, we tried to kick with like super stiff legs, like we were robots, bicycle legs apart. They all moved us or kept us up except for flexed ankles. Flexed ankles always made us move in a negative direction. So it's like, that's all we have to do really is fix flex ankles and we'll be all right. So it's really
Yeah.
fascinating when you start playing around with these types of things.
Yeah, and then you running, it's like freaking like the whoever has the like stiffest ankle is like the fastest runner too.
Right.
So it's like I'm honestly like I can run well and like I am a pro triathlete, but some of these guys are so good at running, and I'm like, you're also a great swimmer. Like I just don't understand like how the mechanics of your ankles work, because like the stiffness of your ankles have to be crazy, but then somehow you can like kick as well. So yeah, it's
I wonder if it's
they're interesting mix of for pro triathletes.
yeah, I wonder if it's got anything to do with foot strength as well, right? Because that's something that's under considered, is how strong is your foot, and when you're running, it's the first thing that hits the ground. So that's got to be a pretty strong part of your body for running. So as much as it is
definitely.
ankle oriented, I'm going to imagine foot strength has a lot to do with it too.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. So I could talk to you pretty much all day long, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
I just looked down. I was like, oh, we're at 56 minutes. And we can only record for an hour. So let's wrap this up. And then, we'll figure out maybe another time to do another podcast. Why not?
Yeah, for sure. That'd be great. Yeah,
So
100%.
so how can people find you? What should people look for to find you?
Yeah, I guess, if you search my name on Instagram, Greg Harper, like, I have an Instagram and post content on there. I mean, you'll see it's like swim content and stuff, and a little bit about what I do in triathlon as well. I got a link in there too, like if you ever want to like, do a swim call, and I'm trying to take on some more clients and kind of build that up a bit. And I'm hoping to get some swim camps and some things going on in the States sometime, hopefully next year. I don't know exactly how that will look there, but yeah, it's something I'm super interested in. And I miss being on deck a bit too.
Yeah.
So I'd like to get back on deck. I mean, some coaching remote is fun, but it's not quite as as fun as being on deck. But yeah, that's kind of how you could find me. And
Okay.
yeah, I appreciate you having me on. It's been fun. I'll have to do a little dive into some of your stuff a bit more too. It seems like it's some good resources.
Yeah. So I'm very mindful about what I put out on the internet, because I also don't want to put out information that is so nuanced and confusing that people are like, what is he even talking about? Right? Because honestly, I just know more than what is the average on the internet. And so I have to kind of like, in my opinion, I try to slowly parse out the information so that it's not all like, here's this crazy thought, that completely contradicts everything you've been told. Right? So, I'm happy to send you like more detailed information too.
No, that'd be good to sit through for sure.
Yeah,
I'm
so-
always like trying to like study and learn and stuff, and I feel like that's important.
Yeah, it never stops, honestly. If someone finds you at a race, should they come up to you for a selfie, or should they let you be?
No, of course they should. Just be like, hey, I heard you on a podcast or something. We'll chat it up and tell me about your race. That'd be super fun.
Cool. Very cool. All right. Well, let's wrap this up. I will figure out another time for us to sit down and talk. Because like I said, I can do this all day long with you. But it's great having you on. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. And until next time, keep swimming.
Yeah, keep swimming. Thanks, Alan.
You're welcome.
Good chat.
Bye.
Bye.